I am just thinking about Tom Blythe, unfortunately. This is a children's death game. Oh. What would they do if I simply vanished? Speaking of Team Effie Trinkets. Hi, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Cam, and I suggest you start with watching the video right before this one because I have started reading The Hunger Games here on my channel, and this video is all about Catching Fire, which is book 2. So if you want to see the first video where I read The Hunger Games for the very first time, go back and watch that and then come and see this. Today, I unintentionally, believe it or not, match my book and we are reading Catching Fire. I believe I actually wear a different red shirt in these upcoming clips, so please ignore that. My intention was to have the entire original trilogy in one reading vlog, but I am unfortunately predestined to be a major yapper. So the first video was landing at about 25 minutes, and I realized we were gonna have to split this up, so I did not film an intro. But here we are. Let's get into it. Hello, everybody! I feel like I should zoom it in a little. Where do we even begin? So yesterday I had to work and I ended up only reading like 20 pages before I fell asleep, but I feel like I should actually give you where we're at. Most people, I'm sure, have at least watched the movies if they're watching this video, but if you recall, at the end of the games in book 1, they had said that if both tributes from a certain district were alive, they could both win. But then, when it got down to just Katniss and Peeta, they changed their mind. And so Katniss, being a little smartass, she takes the deadly berries, I forget what they're called. She says, okay, fine, me and Peeta love each other, we're gonna Romeo and Juliet this. We love each other so much that we have to die right now together. So they're like, whoa, 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 no, stop. That's how we end up with 2 victors, Katniss and Peeta, making history, as they do. So we open Catching Fire, seeing what life is like a few months after winning. They're just about to go on the victory tour, and I like the detail that they try to keep the victory tour at the 6-month mark so that there's like a constant 6-month reminder of the games. Katniss and Peeta have joined the Victor's Village, which there's 12 houses and only 3 of them are occupied, Katniss, Peeta, Haymitch. That means Haymitch was alone for 24 years. We find out that Katniss is like kind of close with Gail's mom. And Gail is working now because he aged out of the games, so they don't get to hunt and hang out as much. And Katniss offers to teach his younger brother to hunt. Basically, I just needed to convey that Katniss pissed off the Capitol. She pissed off President Snow. And then he showed up at her house. So isn't that special? Girlhood. Let's not spill this one on the carpet. And happy reading. I am just thinking about Tom Blythe, unfortunately. Girlhood. End of chapter 1, it says, I'm staring into the snake-like eyes of President Snow. In my mind, President Snow should be viewed in front of marble pillars hung with oversized flags. It's jarring to see him surrounded by the ordinary objects in the room, like taking the lid off a pot and finding a fanged viper instead of stew. I'm trying to understand the snake analogies and the order of events. Did we always know? No, we couldn't have. Like I said, this was 2009 this time, and that was 2020. She's getting nervous because she thinks about other victory tours, and she realizes that Snow has never come out to the district of the winner. This is such an insane way to start a book. Like, we're in deep, deep shit. I love it, but we're in deep shit. Oh my god, yeah, they told everyone that Gail was her cousin because people were finding out that she was like hanging out with a guy when they would interview people from District 12. They were like, that's our cousin Gail. No wonder he's mad. Eek. This is where the whole title of part 1 comes from. I didn't mean to start any uprisings. I believe you. It doesn't matter. Your stylist turned out to be prophetic in his wardrobe choice. Katniss Everdeen, the girl who was on fire, you have provided a spark that, left unattended, may grow to an inferno that destroys Panem. Why don't you just kill me now? Publicly? He asks. That would only add fuel to the flames. I hate how in the book it's Katniss Everdeen, the girl who was on fire. Thank God they changed that in the film script. He's freaking her out. When did you realize the exact degree of your indifference? And she says, I'm not indifferent, but perhaps not as taken with the young man as you would have the country believe. Who says I'm not? I do, says the president, and I wouldn't be here if I were the only person who had doubts. How's the handsome cousin? Don't look at me. Speak, Miss Everdeen. Him I can easily kill off if we don't come to a happy resolution. You aren't doing him a favor by disappearing into the woods with him each Sunday. Oh no. She's like, people have known for a long time that we go hunting in the woods. If we've been watched since, what have they seen? 2 people hunting, saying treasonous things against the Capitol, yes. But not 2 people in love, which seems to be President Snow's implication. We're safe on that charge. Unless... It only happened once. It was fast and unexpected, but it did happen. Blah, blah, blah. The weather was still warm enough I didn't need a jacket. Just tell me when you kissed him. You would think that after all the hours I'd spent with Gail, watching him talk and laugh and frown, that I would know all there was to know about his lips. But I hadn't imagined how warm they would feel pressed against my own, or how those hands, which could set the most intricate of snares, could as easily entrap me. Then he let go and said I had to do that at least once, and he was gone. Catnip. I tried to decide how I felt about the kiss, if I'd liked it or resented it. It was pointless comparing it with the many kisses I'd exchanged with PETA. I still hadn't figured out if any of those counted. How stupid I've been to think the Capitol would just ignore me once I'd returned home. From the president's point of view, I've ignored PETA and flaunted my preference for Gail's company before the whole district. And by doing so, made it clear I was, in fact, mocking the Capitol. Snow is described as snakish, right? But he smells like roses and blood. Chapter 3. The smell of blood, it was on his breath. What does he do? Drink it? Literally, like what? I'm like mad. We're talking about Cinna, and I don't want to talk about Cinna, and I don't want to pull him into any more trouble by closer association with me. Then there's PETA, who will be my partner in this deception, but how do I begin that conversation? Hey PETA, remember how I told you I was kind of faking being in love with you? Well, I really need you to forget about that now and act extra in love with me, or the president might kill Gail. That's pretty good. I feel like it shows that I'm like the most excited for Sunrise on the Reaping because I don't know that story yet. Like I keep really ruminating on everything about Haymitch and his games. Like, they're talking about how this year is the 75th Hunger Games, so it's a Quarter Quell. It's every 25 years, an extra celebration to celebrate mark the anniversary of the district's defeat. For extra fun, there's miserable twists for the tributes. In school, I remember hearing that for the second Quarter Quell, the Capitol demanded that twice the number of tributes be provided for the arena. The teachers didn't go into much more detail, which is surprising because that was the year District 12's very own Haymitch Abernathy won. I've never actually thought about the fact that all these characters I'm hearing about, there were 4 of them that went in from District 12, including Haymitch. So he had to watch 3 of his friends die. Haymitch has never mentioned his personal experience in the arena to me. I would never ask. And if I ever saw his games televised in reruns, I must have been too young to remember it. I love that they do reruns of the Hunger Games. That's crazy. But the Capitol won't let him forget it this year. Oh, we're going to see Cinna downstairs! Woo! PETA, it turns out, actually has a talent, which is painting. I don't have a talent, unless you count hunting illegally, which they don't. Or maybe singing, which I wouldn't do for the Capitol in a million years. Now I'm thinking about Lucy G. She didn't sing for the Capitol, she sang in an act of berries. Listen to this shit. They have to go out on camera and do the greeting with the other victors before they start on their tour. So she sees PETA. She has to like pretend to be so excited. She runs, but he hasn't got full control of his artificial leg and they slip in the snow. Then they start kissing, obviously. We fall into the snow, me on top of him, and that's where we have our first kiss in months. It's full of fur and snowflakes and lipstick, but underneath all that, I can feel the steadiness that PETA brings to everything. As badly as I've hurt him, he won't expose me in front of the cameras. Won't condemn me with a half-hearted kiss. He's still looking out for me, just as he did in the arena. PETA deserves everything good in this world. He also deserves his leg, but we can't have everything we want. We got on the train, and we're about to tell Haymitch what's up. He's the first person that she's telling that Snow showed up and threatened her, and everybody she loves. If you could just help me get through this trip, I begin. No, Katniss, it's not just this trip, he says. What do you mean? Even if you pull it off, they'll be back in another few months to take us all to the games. You and PETA, you'll be mentors now, every year from here on out. And every year they'll revisit the romance and broadcast the details of your private life, and you'll never ever be able to do anything but live happily ever after with that boy. He means there's only one future if I want to keep those I love alive and stay alive myself. I'll have to marry PETA. You know, I didn't really think about that either. That's an awesome reality check from Haymitch. But I don't think she wanted to marry Gail in the first place. I don't think she even knew she had a crush on him. And also, she kept on saying this whole time she never wanted to marry anybody. Look where that got her. I need a hoodie. I'm frozen. Did I wear navy the entire time I read the first book the other day? Yes. Is this different? Yes. I think I'm reading way too far into every single thing. I'm trying to theorize. I just don't understand how songbirds became a thing. Because now Katniss is thinking about the fact that if she does have to marry PETA, what are they going to do? Have kids? They're going to rig the games and put the kids in the games immediately. Children of victors, when they get put in the games, it's always generating way more buzz. The child of 2 victors, they would be all over that shit. She said no matter whose kid I have, she's pissed the Capitol off so much that any of her children, descendants, relatives are going to end up in the games. And she thinks about how Haymitch, maybe that's why he chose a life of alcoholism and no wife, no kids. He didn't want to put anybody else at risk. And then she said, I kind of had that experience with Prim. Thank God I'm young enough that I had the opportunity to volunteer for her, because her mom wouldn't have been able to do that, obviously. This is a children's death game. My mind searches frantically for a way out, even if it means taking my own life. Before that, though, I'd try to run away. What would they do if I simply vanished? Disappeared into the woods and never came out? Could I manage to take everyone I love with me, start a new life deep in the wild? Highly unlikely, but not impossible. Say it with me. Who does that sound like?
Hi.
Lucy G. Like, do you think Suzanne Collins, 10 years after she wrote this, was like, remember that one time that maybe we played around with the idea of Katniss just disappearing? And then she wrote Lucy Gray? I think I'm just having so much fun theorizing about Sunrise on the Reaping and everything and how it all connects. I also feel like I heard one day that Katniss's dad was Covey, but I totally could have made that up. But anyways, I just thought it was interesting that that was an option in Katniss's head, because it is possible. Our first stop, by the way, District 11. You know who lives in District 11? Rue and Thresh. Rue and Thresh's family. This will be interesting. We're thanking everyone in District 11. And then the guy whistles Rue's 4-note Mockingjay tune. Every person in the crowd presses the 3 middle fingers of their left hand against their lips and extends them to me. It's our sign from District 12, the last goodbye I gave Rue in the arena. If I hadn't spoken to President Snow, this gesture might move me to tears, but with his recent orders to calm the districts fresh in my ears, it fills me with dread. A pair of peacekeepers dragging the old man who whistled to the top of the steps, forcing him to his knees before the crowd, and putting a bullet through his head. This shit's whack. Like, I know the story, but to be reading it and being like, this is a teenager book, this is a children's book. I don't want to go on the victory tour. I cannot believe that some people are Team Gail after reading this shit. They've made their way through the districts, they're at the Capitol on their tour, and they need to go all out, okay? She says, back in our old quarters in the training center, I'm the one who suggests the public marriage proposal. PETA agrees to do it, but then disappears to his room for a long time. Haymitch tells me to leave him alone. I thought he wanted it anyway. Not like this, Haymitch says. He wanted it to be real. Ah! I can't believe how quickly this is all coming about. This is literally the same page. Caesar Flickerman flawlessly guides us through the interview. When he asks us about our future, PETA gets down on one knee, pours out his heart, and begs me to marry him. I, of course, accept. Caesar is beside himself. The Capitol audience is hysterical. Shots of crowds around Panem show a country besotted with happiness. President Snow himself makes a surprise visit to congratulate us. He clasps PETA's hand and gives him an approving slap on the shoulder. He embraces me, enfolding me in the smell of blood and roses, and plants a puffy kiss on my cheek. When he pulls back, his fingers digging into my arms, I dare to raise my eyebrows. They ask what my lips can't. Did I do it? Was it enough? In answer, he gives an almost imperceptible shake of his head. That was so fast. Oh my god. So all of that only brings us to the 74-page mark, which is just nuts. Shit has completely hit the fan, and we haven't even introduced the fact that there's a whole other games that goes down in this book. So I guess that's why we've had to cram so much into 74 pages. Needless to say, I am eating this up. More so than the last, possibly. Nothing seems like super new information right now, judging by my knowledge of the movie, but it is interesting that Haymitch basically admitted, like, yeah, I chose Katniss in the first games, like, I only sent her stuff. That between the three of us, I was sure we could get you to survive, because Peeta was also convinced that he had to let Katniss live. Ugh, how is anybody Team Gail? How could you possibly be Team Gail? So they went to the Capitol party at Snow's house, and then they wake up the next morning, and Katniss has slept through the night. She doesn't even remember Peeta coming into her room, as he's been doing, I guess. And he says, "You didn't have any nightmares." And then she said she was having a dream of a mockingjay, but she knew it was Rue because it sang like Rue. So then they were talking about Peeta's nightmares, and she says, "You should wake me," I say, thinking about how I can interrupt his sleep 2 or 3 times on a bad night. He says, "It's not necessary. My nightmares are usually about losing you. I'm okay once I realize you're here." Ugh, Peeta. That's literally what it says. Ugh, Peeta makes comments like this in such an offhand way, and it's like being hit in the gut. He's only answering my question honestly. He's not pressing me to reply in kind, to make any declaration of love. But I still feel awful, as if I've been using him in some terrible way. Have I? I don't know. I only know that for the first time, I feel immoral about him being here in my bed, which is ironic since we're officially engaged now. Again, all I have to say is, how could you possibly be a Gail fan when you read, "I'm okay once I realize you're here"? My nightmares are usually about losing you. This just in, District 8 has gone to shambles in what President Snow would call an uprising. I'm sensing a lot of metaphor in this conversation with Madge about the Mockingjay. Katniss was like, "I'm surprised that Mockingjays have become such a fashion statement in the capital because of what happened with the Jabberjays." Madge says, "But Mockingjays were never a weapon. They're just songbirds, right?" "Yeah, I guess so. But it's not true. A mockingbird is just a songbird. A mockingjay is a creature the capital never intended to exist. They hadn't counted on the highly controlled Jabberjay having the brains to adapt to the wild and pass on its genetic code to thrive in a new form. They hadn't anticipated its will to live." Sounds like somebody we know! The way my brain functions, this cabin that she's trying to lead Gail to in the woods by the lake, that's gotta be the one that Snow and Lucy G were at, right? I just finished chapter 7, and little plot update. We fought with Gail in the woods because we proposed running away, and then he realized it didn't just mean Katniss's family and Gail's family, it also meant Peeta and his family and Haymitch. So Gail was like, "No, I don't want anything made in the capital." But Katniss told him about the rebellion in 8, and he's like, "Well, you know, people here in the mines have been talking about the same thing." And next thing Katniss knows, Gail is being whipped to shreds by the head peacekeeper, but not the one that Katniss knows, a new one. So I don't know what happened to Cray, but there's a new chief in town, and it's not looking good for Mr. Gale. Okay, Katniss, yeah, you're looking at Gale's unconscious body, and for the first time you're thinking, what if it was him who went to the games and fell in love with this strange girl? But then you found out it was fake. The hatred I feel for him, for the Phantom Girl, for everything, is so real and immediate that it chokes me. Gale is mine. I am his. Anything else is unthinkable. Why did it take him being whipped within an inch of his life to see it? Because I'm selfish. I'm a coward. I'm the kind of girl who, when she might actually be of use, would run to stay alive and leave those who couldn't follow to suffer and die. No wonder I won the games. No decent person ever does. My choices are simple. I can die like Quarry in the woods, or I can die here beside Gail. I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to stay right here and cause all kinds of trouble. Me too, Gail says. I'm still not Team Gail. I don't care. Now we had a nightmare, and it says, "I wish that Peeta were here to hold me. Until I remember, I'm not supposed to wish that anymore. I have chosen Gail and the rebellion, and a future with PETA is the capital's design, not mine. Bitch. No, it is yours. You don't know what you want. You're 16. This is the most teenage dystopian 16-year-old girl engaged to PETA but thinking about Gail sentence I've ever heard. What do I mean when I say I love Gail? I don't know. I did kiss him last night, in a moment when my emotions were running so high. But I'm sure he doesn't remember it. If he does, everything will just get more complicated, and I really can't think about kissing when I've got a rebellion to incite. And then she immediately goes, "Where's PETA?" PETA's father mentioned on page 131. Woohoo! Although things are not looking good in the district, let me tell you. This is a good reminder that more time is passing than I think. Now all of a sudden it's been 2 weeks and Gail is healing. Katniss got Haymitch to hire Gail's mom as a housekeeper so that their family can survive because the food rations haven't been coming in, and Gail's siblings had to sign up for the Tesserae, which is like extra entries in the Hunger Games in exchange for grains and oil. Devastating stuff. Oh my god. Then Katniss gets a crate of wedding dresses with a note from Effie saying that President Snow approved these himself. Cherry on top. So this is where part 1 ends. We go back into the woods to kind of, I guess, say our goodbyes to the lake, think for a while. There's a peacekeeper who clicks her weapon and then drops it and then hands Katniss a cracker, a soggy cracker with the Mockingjay symbol stamped in it. And then you turn the page. The Quell. I don't want a soggy Mockingjay cracker. It makes no sense. My bird baked into bread. What is it? What does that mean? It means we're on your side. Twill and Bonnie, and they've run away from District 8. Okay, they're talking like there should be something that Katniss knows that she doesn't know about her Mockingjay symbol. We're headed for District 13. 13? There's no 13. It got blown off the map 75 years ago. I understand why you're running, but what do you expect to find in District 13? It's nothing but rubble. We've all seen the footage. That's just it. They've been using the same footage for as long as anyone in District 8 can remember. And suddenly the fence has electricity when we try to go back in. Coincidence? Probably not. Maisie Donner mention on page 172. Okay, she was Katniss's mom's friend. Snow is doing his announcement, the interesting thing about this Quarter Quell, but their mom says, "I had a friend who went that year, Maisie Donner. Her parents owned the sweet shop. They gave me her songbird after, a canary. Prim and I exchange a look. It's the first we've ever heard of Maisie Donner. Maybe because my mother knew we would want to know how she died." Okay, so there's a big box holding a whole bunch of envelopes. Whoever devised the Quarter Quell system had prepared for centuries of Hunger Games. The president removes an envelope clearly marked with a 75. Without hesitation, he reads, "On the 75th anniversary, as a reminder to the rebels that even the strongest among them cannot overcome the power of the capital, the male and female tributes will be reaped from the existing pool of victors." My mother gives a faint shriek and Prim buries her face in her hands, and I feel more like the people I see in the crowd on television. Slightly baffled. What does it mean? Existing pool of victors? Then I get it. District 12 only has 3 existing victors to choose from. I'm going back into the arena. I'm actually shocked it took that long. 173 pages for us to get to the announcement of the Quarter Quell. I knew that was coming, but I was intrigued by the whole Maisie Donner of it all. And I didn't realize that somebody might have rigged it, right? Because I was going to say I didn't realize that the Quarter Quell things were lined up that far in advance. But I don't know. Oh, now Gail is saying, "It's not too late to run away, Katniss." Yes, it is, unfortunately. Yeah, she said, yeah, it is. So what are they gonna do? Have that big fishbowl with 2 names in it? PETA or Haymitch? Adjusting for age, I realized some of our opponents may be elderly, which is both sad and reassuring. Okay, not only did they put Haymitch and PETA's names in a bowl, they put Katniss's name one time in a bowl and Effie had to, claw it out. We already knew who it was gonna be, Queen. Actually, Haymitch's name got pulled and PETA volunteered. Oh my gosh, they didn't even let them say goodbye this time. When I say this book moves fast, this reaping literally lasts from here to the end of this page. I can't believe how much shit happens in each of these chapters. This is insane. I remain at the window long after the woods have swallowed up the last glimpse of my home. This time, I don't have even the slightest hope of return. It's important that I be at the top of my game. This won't happen if I'm mourning for everyone I love back home. Let them go, I tell myself. Say goodbye and forget them. I do my best, thinking of them one by one, releasing them like birds from the protective cages inside me, locking the doors against their return. She's doing all that so she can just focus on keeping PETA alive. And you guys are still Team Gail? Effie's hair matches Katniss's gold pin now, and she says, I was thinking we might get you a golden ankle band and maybe Haymitch a gold bracelet or something so we could all look like a team. Evidently, Effie doesn't know that my Mockingjay pin is now a symbol used by the rebels. Real rebels don't put a secret symbol on something as durable as jewelry. They put it on a wafer of bread that can be eaten in a second if necessary. They just watched the recap of who else will be joining them at these games, and PETA says, why don't you get some sleep? And in italics, she's thinking, because I can't handle the nightmares, not without you. What do I do with that information? Like, kiss already, for real. Oh my god, Katniss and PETA have a big box of previous tapes of the victors, and they were gonna watch for fighting techniques. And they had Haymitch's, and I thought they were gonna breeze past it because obviously Haymitch never wanted to watch it. And they go, we don't have to tell them we watched it. So now we're like, they're watching Maisie Donner get called, and she's hugged by a bunch of girls, and he says, I think that's your mother hugging her. And he's right. I catch a glimpse of my mother at my age, holding her hand and weeping is another girl who looks just like Maisie, but a lot like someone else I know too. Madge, I say. That's her mother. She and Maisie were twins or something. My dad mentioned it once. PETA's dad mentioned. I think of Madge's mother, Mayor Undersea's wife, who spends half her life in bed immobilized with terrible pain, shutting out the world. I think of how I never realized that she and my mother shared this connection. Of Madge showing up in that snowstorm to bring the painkiller for Gail. Of my Mockingjay pin and how it means something completely different now that I know that its former owner was Madge's aunt, Maisie Donner, a tribute who was murdered in the arena. Oh no. This is terrible foreshadowing. They show Haymitch, and she says, oh, PETA, you don't think he killed Maisie, do you? With 48 players, I'd say the odds are against it. I don't think they are. If we've learned anything about the odds, they're against everybody that we know and love, okay? I never considered that. Because, yeah, there's 48 of them. You don't think that Haymitch would have to kill his 3 friends, right? That, like, makes me sick. You don't think he killed Maisie, do you? I wasn't thinking it until you said it, Catnip. Oh my god. This is what I mean. Reading these in anticipation of Sunrise on the Reaping is so drama. And I'm terrified now. Okay, this I saw in the trailer. I love that we're seeing this right now. So, Haymitch, what do you think of the games having 100% more competitors than usual? Asks Caesar. I love that it's still Caesar, 25 years ago. Yeah, 25 years ago. Haymitch shrugs. I don't see that it makes much difference. They'll still be 100% as stupid as usual, so I figure my odds will be roughly the same. Oh my gosh, we're like actually getting a look at his games. They're not going to tell us in Catching Fire if he killed Maisie, are they? I don't want to read more. 4 days in, the picturesque mountain erupts in a volcano that wipes out another dozen players. This is like spoilers. Maisie saved Haymitch. No, no, no. Okay, she walked away from him because there's only 5 people left and she doesn't want it to come down to him or her. I'm so nervous. Oh. Okay, so he did kill her with his own 2 hands, but I bet he feels guilty for that. Should I tell you? So he hears her scream in the distance. He arrives only in time to watch the last of a flock of candy pink birds equipped with long, thin beaks skewer her through the neck. He holds her while she dies, and all I can think of is Rue and how I was too late to save her too. You're gonna tell me Maisie Donner, heiress of the candy store, was skewered in the neck by the beak of a candy pink bird? This is sick and twisted. It's so crazy that I know that a whole book about this is coming, so to read about his games in the sum of 2 pages, I can't wait to see it on the screen though. The trailer looks beautiful. This is evil, though. Oh, you see what he figured out? In the arena that he was in, there was a cliff, but it was like at the bounds of the arena. So everything that he threw over the cliff came back up. So he outsmarted someone, the last person who tried to kill him. They threw an axe at him. He ducked, it went down, and it came back and got them. You know they didn't expect that to happen. It wasn't meant to be a part of the arena. It made them look stupid. Bet that's why I don't remember seeing it on television. It's almost as bad as Us and the Berries. Oh, he knew they watched it. He goes, almost, but not quite. I spent all these weeks getting to know who my competitors are without even thinking about who my teammates are. Now a new kind of confidence is lighting up inside of me because I think I finally know who Haymitch is. And I'm beginning to know who I am. And surely, two people who have caused the Capitol so much trouble can think of a way to get PETA home alive. So good. Oh my god. The end of chapter 14 brings us to the 52% mark. Two things. Is it slightly alarming that this whole vlog is taking place right here on my couch? Yes. Is it also slightly alarming that we haven't even gotten to the games yet, and we have less than half of the book left? Also yes. We have so many characters to meet and then kill. Update. We've been to training, we've met the other tributes, and Katniss and PETA made quite a show in their individual skill show-off. PETA painted a picture of Rue when Katniss laid her with the flowers when she died. And then Katniss, if that wasn't bad enough, she went in there and used her rope tying skills to tie a noose, put a dummy in it, and paint Seneca Crane's name on the dummy. So they are in trouble, I can only imagine. They're like a few days away from the games, and she said, so what should we do with our last few days? And he says, I just want to spend every possible minute of the rest of my life with you. No nightmares, he says. No nightmares, I confirm. You? None. I'd forgotten what a real night's sleep feels like. This is horrible. Now, for her interview with Caesar, Snow has specifically requested that she wear the wedding dress that the Capitol voted on. Since she's not going to have a wedding now, I guess. But Cinna said he made some changes and she still has to do a twirl. So I don't know if it's going to like go up in flames, burn to a crisp, turn black. I don't know. We'll see. Probably something to do with flames. Cinna has turned me into a Mockingjay. Yup, I know that's right. Just as we're battling with the thought that Cinna might have completely killed himself with that move, PETA gets up there with Caesar, and she's like, they have such natural comedic timing, they're basically shooting the shit up there. PETA goes, Caesar, do you think all our friends here can keep a secret? I feel quite certain of it. We're already married. But how can that be? Oh, it's not an official marriage. We didn't go to the Justice Building or anything, but we have this marriage ritual in District 12. Were your families there? No, we didn't tell anyone, not even Haymitch. And to us, we're more married than any piece of paper or big party could make us. I'm glad you two had at least a few months of happiness together. I'm not glad, says PETA. I wish we had waited until the whole thing was done officially. Surely even a brief time is better than no time. Maybe I'd think that too, Caesar, says PETA bitterly, if it weren't for the baby. There, he's done it again. Dropped a bomb that wipes out the efforts of every tribute who came before him. Well, maybe not. Maybe this year he's only lit the fuse on a bomb that the victors themselves have been building. Even the most capital-loving, games-hungry, bloodthirsty person out there can't ignore, at least for a moment, how horrific the whole thing is. I guess that was PETA's way of trying to kick Katniss out of the games, I guess? Up and down the row, the victors begin to join hands. By the time the anthem plays its final strains, all 24 of us stand in one unbroken line in what must be the first public show of unity among the districts since the dark days. They got Cinna, as Katniss was in the tube, moving up to the arena. One thing I have to say, she's gonna have no trouble finding water this year. This is no place for a girl on fire. Yeah. Funny how that works, isn't it? Ladies and gentlemen, let the 75th Hunger Games begin. Thanks, Claudius. Nice to see you again, I guess. Good morning, happy Friday. Last night I actually read up to the end of chapter 24, which means I only have about 50 pages left, if that. So let's talk about it. I'm trying to think of the chronological order of events. We couldn't see Peeta across the circle past the cornucopia. This year, Katniss decided to go for the cornucopia, where she meets Finnick, who is wearing Haymitch's gold bracelet that Effie gave him as their, team trinket. Speaking of Team Effie trinkets, Peeta's is a Mockingjay pendant on a necklace, which we later find out is actually a locket, and it has a picture of Katniss's mom and sister and a picture of Gail. Are you joking? Haymitch is up to something, okay? Because he keeps sending people that are saying, oh, well, Haymitch said we had to bring you Wyrus and Beetee so that we could be friends. That's what Joanna said to her in different words, but Haymitch is doing something, and I don't remember what goes on. Wyrus did unfortunately pass. Basically, as a team, we've figured out that the arena is a clock, and so every hour from 12 to 12, the same thing will happen, but then we found out that the cornucopia, spins, so we never actually know what time it is until these things happen. They're, trying to write a map about which things happen when, but they haven't figured it all out. Something very bad happens at 6, I believe. They just heard screams, and then there was one cannon and multiple claws. So that means they were, picking up multiple pieces of a person, which is not ideal, obviously. Yeah, so we're still in the arena. I think there's 8 people left. Finnick, Katniss, Joanna, Peeta, Beetee. I think that's everybody that we're hanging out with. We've had monkeys, we've had deadly fog, we've had a wave, we've had storm. Lightning strikes the tree at 12. And that's my active recall for the moment. I was just fully consumed by this last night in bed. I was like, I have to leave a little bit for today because I didn't vlog me finishing the Hunger Games. So when I sit down to read, we will vlog finishing it. I'm sorry if you hear the constant roar of the thunder as I'm talking, but it is unfortunately the perfect reading atmosphere. So as soon as I'm done yapping, I'm gonna shut off the overheads and get to it. But I do have a confession. I did finish this without vlogging. She's done it again. You can probably guess exactly what I'm gonna say, but I was so shocked that we were still in the games with 10 pages left of the book. Thank goodness these were coming out in the time when there was 1 year between releases and not 7. I don't know how you would go about not knowing what happens next. And while we were in the games, I realized I kind of forgot how Catching Fire ends. I was not knowing who to trust the same way Katniss was because I forgot from the movie. So that heightened the experience of reading it. And boy, was I shocked to find out that Plutarch Heavensbee is the leader of the rebellion. Or was at least helping the rebellion. So when the game maker showed us his pocket watch, I think I mentioned that to you, and it had the Mockingjay. That was supposed to be some sort of sign that we were not familiar with. Which is funny because I think we found out about, we would have met Bonnie and Clyde. No, what were their names? It went right over my head. But the game maker was in on it the whole time, and everybody was in on it, including Peeta, I think. And just no one told Katniss. Cool. Spoiler alert, I just found out that none of Peeta's family survived. So imagine how that felt. That's when I knew I had to stop reading and pick up the vlog camera because Peeta's dad arc has come to an end. So Katniss pisses everybody off. She shoots the arena dome and it all goes to shit basically. They immediately scoop her up and within 15 minutes they were bombing District 12. So they are not her biggest fan, that is safe to say. Gail shows up while she's in recovery because she was knocked out from the blast. She's like, what about District 12? Where's everyone? They're not in District 12? They're not in District 12? He goes, Katniss, there is no District 12. Hence the reason Peeta's dad is no longer with us. So this was obviously very good. I'm excited to see where we all end up because I'm realizing I know nothing about Mockingjay. That's kind of where my knowledge of the Hunger Games ends. I know what happens to Gail. This is Editing Cam popping in to tell you that I did go almost my entire experience of reading the trilogy convinced that Gail was the one who dies. That's not what happens. So I don't know if I mentioned it in this series before, but this is the first time I've caught it. Nothing actually happens to Gail. And obviously, just in case I haven't made my stance abundantly clear, I do wish he was the one who did. Would have been a much better option. I do think I liked Catching Fire better than the original Hunger Games, but neither of them were like super 5-star. So I did give the original 4 stars. This is probably 4.5. I don't know how we get PETA back from the Capitol because they still have him, as far as I'm aware in here. It's me again. Like I said, this was supposed to be one big reading vlog, so there's no formal outro to this video. That's why I'm here. I really hope you enjoyed reading Catching Fire with me. This was action-packed from the first page to the very last. I knew a lot of what to expect going into this one, but I know a lot less going into Mockingjay, so I'm definitely excited to read that with you guys as well. So if you'd like to stay updated on that journey, please like and subscribe so you can come back and watch me read Mockingjay, and I will talk to you guys then. Bye!